please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bonkowski?
Yes, here.
Trustee Guerrero?
Here.
Trustee Meissen?
Here.
Trustee Colley?
Here.
Trustee Capoli?
Here.
President Pridemore?
Here.
Treasurer Stein?
Here.
And Clerk Lisa? Madam Chair is passed.
Public comment on the agenda. Any public comment on the agenda? Okay, approval of agenda. I have a few additions. I'm sorry about this. Under new business I, amendment ordinance number 145. Mr. Addis will explain what the thought is there. J, the Parks and Rec Fall Festival, to approve the money for the festival. And K, information on post-construction stormwater ordinance. And I'm sorry for the late addition, we just found out about that yesterday. Are there any other additions to the agenda?
I hate to add one more to the list, but is it possible under new business we could add just a discussion topic of village manager?
Sure. You know, consider your point, it comes after K.
Doing the alphabet matter.
Any other additions to the agenda? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor? Opposed? Approval of the minutes?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 14th, 2021.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda?
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report? Payment of bills? Amanda?
The village assets total $6,683,737.10. You want me to read off the payroll and such?
Hold on. Do I have a motion on the treasurer's report?
Make a motion that we receive and file the treasurer's
Hold on, we're
report.
out of order.
I know. Yes, I know. Go ahead.
Make a motion that we receive and file the treasurer's report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now can we get the September bills?
For September, the payroll totaled $77,786.08. Bills to be paid, $331,790.20, for a total of $409,576.28.
Make a motion that we approve the September 2021 payroll and the October 2021 bills.
Support.
Roll call?
Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Bonkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Colley?
Yes.
And President Pridemore?
Yes. Amanda, do we have a large payment in the bills that were paid?
Yeah, I think that part of Sandy's had a large chunk of change come out this month.
The fall debt was $107,000 this October.
What?
The fall debt,
Oh, okay. So there was a large
yeah.
bond payment.
The bond, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, communications and committee reports, clerk.
Items for the November agenda are due by October 29th. I realize that's before the end of the month, so I'm flexible.
Planning Commission report?
Planning Commission did not meet this month.
And Parks and Rec report?
Parks and Rec, we have the trunk or treat scarecrow contest at Haymers Community Park on October 23rd at 5 o'clock. To register with the team, it's all online. And we're also having some challenges with the meetings before, so hopefully we get that resolved this month.
Okay. And the police committee update?
So the police committee had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago. Just started drafting out what exactly it is that we hope to accomplish. For our immediate next steps, we're planning on going through and querying some of our peers in the village about what their concerns or wants are with police and coverage and the Macomb County Sheriff's Department. And then we plan to get together with our liaison, Sergeant McPherson with Macomb County Sheriff's Department, to work with them to see about, addressing the concerns or the wants. And then from there, we'll go ahead and see what our next steps are.
Are you going to email Sergeant McPherson? If you
Yes.
do, can you copy me on it?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, new business. We have an RFP for grant writing services. We had discussed this some months ago, a while back actually, and I'm wondering if council has any interest in looking into perhaps posting an RFP for grant writing services. I did have a young lady reach out to me from a grant writing service called Advancing Macomb. She had reached out to me a couple of months ago. They worked with Mount Clemens in obtaining funding for the renovation of 3 of their parks, including one renovation, I think that's in the $250,000 range. And she was able to get some grants that included matching funding, but there was grant money that was received, so they were able to double their dollar and really improve their parks. So I'm not going to ask for a vote today, but I wanted to put it back on the table and have everyone do a little homework and see if you think that putting an RFP out for grant writing services would be a good fit for the village. We do have some projects coming up, including looking at community park, the new green space at New Haven Road in Gratiot. So we always have a need for some funding. So if you guys would just think about it and bring back your thoughts at the November meeting, I appreciate it. Planning rules of procedure, it was just bringing the different committees and commissions all on the same page about selections of officers, the terms of office, formatting the agenda, getting the agenda out in a timely manner, reporting. It's been kind of spotty in the past, where we're not getting all of the minutes of all the committee meetings, and we're not getting the agendas posted at least 5 days in advance. So we need to be able to put it on the door and on the website so that the residents will know these committees are meeting. And just what the duties are of each position. Did anybody, you guys go through it, have any questions, concerns? It kind of mirrors what we do, and it kind of mirrors our rules of procedure. Parks and Rec have one, and now this is for the planning committee, and I think that's the last one.
Was there an original version that this is an edit of, or is this is a
Never
new?
was. Never was.
There was.
There was not.
Was not.
No, there was just an outdated ordinance, an older ordinance.
Yeah,
But-
I saw it was named revised, so I didn't know if there was like an original copy that we're supposed to be comparing and contrasting, or,
No, there never was one.
okay.
So, and it's just so that the people on these committees and commissions know how they're going to operate, what we expect from them, and again, it just kind of mirrors what we have. Did anybody have any questions or concerns?
Do you want us, are you looking to enact this evening?
Yeah, if we could pass it and then give it to planning. Review everything.
So I will make a motion to adopt the planning rules of procedure.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, watch fire message board. As you know, we are getting federal funding, the American Rescue Plan. And part of that funding is a narrow focus on what we can spend it on, but one of them is IT and IT infrastructure. And one of the things that I've been hearing for years as a trustee and now as the village president is that people feel like they're not getting the word about what the village is doing, about village functions, or they feel kind of disenfranchised with what's going on. Not everybody can go on the website, not everybody's on social media. So we reached out we put an RFP out, and we got 2 quotes. Max Light LED signs, and the other name is Phillips, I believe, Phillips Sign and Lighting. Now, the third company that we got works for Phillips, so it was really the same company. One of the quotes was for a watch fire message board, and I think you got the specs on that. And the other one was for Max Light LED signs. Brian, you seem to be the tech guy. Did you get to review these? Was there a third one?
You didn't forward the max line, I only have the Phillips sign.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it looks like all that we have are just 2 copies of the Phillips schematics and then the full quote.
I
Okay.
didn't
well,
realize there was a second quote.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Thought that was forwarded on the email.
Phillips.
so Watchfire and Phillips are the same. We didn't realize it at the time, but it's the same.
They give you copies of Max Light.
Yeah, but it's the same. Phillips is the one who makes the signs for Watchfire, so it's 2 of the same. It would be the same.
So Watchfire are the same?
No, I'm sorry. Phillips and Watchfire are the same.
All right.
It would be the same. Max Light is the different.
I apologize, guys. Rachel, can you make copies of
I
this?
should say.
I apologize. I thought I forwarded everything to you. Now, did you all get the schematics of what the message board would look like? What are your thoughts?
I was impressed how well it integrated.
That thing's perfect.
Yeah. We were initially concerned with line of sight because it is a busy intersection, but the company pointed out if people go southbound on Gratiot, chances are they're going to come northbound on Gratiot. If they go east or westbound on Main Street and Haven Road, they're probably going to go the other direction.
Who's gonna man it?
It's all wireless.
I know, but someone has to put the information in.
That'll be the office.
The only concern I have is we had an identical quote from this company in 2019, and the price has gone up 70% from that quote less than 2 years ago for an identical sign.
Same size, same everything?
Same everything. It's like the
70%? What was the figure?
It got 22,000 and now it's 36,000. That was at the end of 2019. No, 5 of 2019.
Okay. And I'll give you all a minute to review the Max Light. This is kind of a ballpark figure. 29 is certainly not what you got, the figure you got in 2019. We did have, they did express to us that they were having some challenges in getting some of the chips and electronics. And the cost did go up because it was a couple of years ago, but it is a large increase. It is a large increase. But these were the only 2 quotes that we got.
Does Phillips includes the electrical though?
I'm sorry?
Phillips includes the electrical.
If the electrical's already there, they hook it up. That sign is lit up.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they hook it up.
I'm just asking because this one is saying electrical by others.
Yeah, no, they hook it up. They didn't know that there was a power there. They didn't know that the power was there. So I believe, Dan,
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't they say they were gonna hook it up once they realized there was power there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Max Light, we never physically talked to Max Light. We only physically talked to Watchfire and Phillips. But yes, all electrical is there, and they will do what they have to do to connect it. One thing that the building department did say is the council will have to eliminate the fees because it would just be paying itself for the electrical inspection. And I don't know if there's a building inspection, but the building inspector did say that the council would have to waive any fees for it itself.
Now, we did reach out to Max Light to ask them if they could quote us on a slightly larger sign. This sign is 240 inches smaller than the Phillips sign. So it's less money because it's smaller. It's also got fewer pixels. Now, considering where the sign is at, I think we want a sharper picture. If it was further away, the pixel count wouldn't matter, because further away, it would be readable. But when you got it that close to the corner, you do want a sharper image, so it's easier to read. So, thoughts?
I mean, just me thinking, I mean, that's, to me, it's a lot of money. I don't think the location is ideal for passing on information on that particular intersection. I don't have any ideas offhand, but something just tells me that there's better things that we could spend money, this amount of money on to do that.
Okay, what would you recommend for community outreach then?
That's what I just said. I don't have anything right now. Something just tells me that we can find something better for $30,000.
I know, I tend to look at, so I was trying to look at the quality between these two, and I don't know about, I mean, when we talk about how much money, you know, I don't know, I just got, you know, I just had to redo my taxes on my mortgage. It's called in the brain cramp's been a long day. Anyway, so my mortgage fees were not paying enough because we're worth more, right? So I had to do it again. And when I look at how much I pay into the village, as any citizen does, and I go, okay, got it, understand why, but what do we get for that? And when we, you know, we look at all that money that comes back and forth, and we look, when you drive down Gratiot, it's really hard to see any improvements, you know, in the village at all, right? I mean, now you come inside the village, you see it all over the place, sidewalks, better roads, you see all kinds of great things. So I just start thinking about the fact that everybody's looking at their taxes, and there's got to be something that we can do that actually shows some value in how much money we're all putting into the village. And I think this is something, in my view, because I've talked to quite a few folks about what did they think about that. Not one person said anything negative about putting up an LED sign on it. And I think I agree with the angle of what it sets and where it's at, but to do anything different, these costs are going to go through the roof. You're kind of stuck with the platform you have because that was the angle of that one's on, right? So I wish that was a little different, but I'm not sure that, you know. So I actually, you know, had an kind of intent to come here and say I think we should get when you try to step back and look at the pixels and where it's at, you know, I don't know about previous estimates. I've not heard of that before. When I look at this, it only makes sense to get one that's got a quality sign that we can actually put a narrative on to actually read from a particular spot. So, I don't know, to me it looks like a positive thing. It's a lot of money, but I think the citizens pay a lot of money, and I just think that shows an immediate improvement to anybody coming through New Haven on day one, right? Just day one. You like, hey, look at that high-tech, high-speed sign. The sign itself did that a little bit, but I gotta be honest, almost all the feedback on that sign, to include mine, was we already have a sign that says welcome to New Haven. It's not the biggest, but it's actually at the entrance to New Haven, so to speak. So, you know, you've got one you could have done at the other end. Anyways, so it allowed you to talk negatively about it. But I think on an LED sign, it's a little bit different. I think that, you know, there's always probably going to be somebody out there. So I'm an advocate for doing it, and I'm an advocate for doing it at the higher quality price point. I'm a little bit taken aback by, I'm trying to do the math in my head of 3 years, and you said it was 70% increase?
About 70%.
Yeah, so 3 years.
In 2 years.
Has stuff gone up? I mean, electronics, you know, when you talk about it, you know, look at the, because of, I don't know, I'm trying to rationalize that in my head, and I don't know, because of the chip shortages, if that's what they're relating it to. So my 2016 Jeep Wrangler I bought for $41,000, I've been offered $32,000 for it right now. And I'm this close to actually selling it. But my point is, that's because you can't just go buy one right now, so maybe that's huge, right? That's a big
You have
increase.
to take into consideration too, I mean, a previous council wanted something to show, and that's why that sign cost $25,000, and now we're gonna tack another 30 on, we're gonna have a $50,000 sign.
I mean, I think, me personally, when I'm looking at the two quotes, you know, regardless of the fact that it might be more expensive than 2 years ago, when you look at the two quotes side by side, you know, one is you know, $37,000, and the other one's $29,000. The $29,600 is a smaller sign compared to the Phillips. Overall, the Phillips quote gives me a little bit more, I don't know, makes me feel better reading the Phillips quote compared to the Max Light. I mean, one looks like they really plan out what they were planning on doing and has quite an extensive quote. The other one is just, you're getting a screen, a cabinet, riser, connect the power. They don't talk about anything about update software. They don't talk about training. Maybe it's all included. but-
It is.
At Max Light?
No, it definitely.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's what I mean. Phillips, they actually broke that all out. Max Light doesn't, and it makes me a little nervous that Max Light didn't.
And when we asked Max like to quote us on a larger screen, they never contacted us.
Right. So when I compare these side by side, and and that there's only a $7,000 difference between the two, it doesn't seem like it's that unreasonable what Phillips has for their pricing. And correct me, remind me too, this was federal? Yeah, so technically we are footing the bill at first, but then we're gonna be reimbursed for it.
Yeah, it's the gentleman that came out from Phillips and gave us a demonstration of what the different pixels look like and the size of the sign. Said they just installed one up in Marine City that we're using the ARC funds as well, because IT is one of the 3 things you can use it for. So,
Mr. Adams and I were just talking about cheaper isn't always better, right?
True.
And the only comment I have is just, there is the note at the bottom that, you know, it could be a little bit higher than this because, the final electrical connection is on time and material. So just so we're all aware that this isn't necessarily the bottom line. It's gonna be a little bit more than that.
I think it sounds a good idea, Tessa, because like also you're planning on doing some green space type of thing going for residents to come there. So we see that sign there, information, and it's just good to have there for the residents to like, walk up there or take walks or bike ride or
And for everybody that talks about how they get stuck at the intersection all the time,
Exactly.
now they're gonna have a sign read.
Well, you know, I just think you talk about too, that we do have a lot of citizens that will talk about the fact that I'm not on Facebook, I'm not gonna get on Facebook. You know, we've got one small paper you may or may not get to read notices in. But there's just things like that, like water boil alerts. That's log on, update, enter, and you're posted your water boil alert. You know, then the parades that we do, the trunk or treat or park and treat or whatever we call that.
Trunk or treat.
So you got all that stuff that you can I just think it's a great thing for the village, expensive as it is. I know I'd support it at the Phillips sign aspect of it.
okay, did we have any other questions, concerns? Pleasure.
Make a motion that we accept the quote from Phillips, sign and lighting in the amount of $36,850.25.
Support.
Can I get a roll call?
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Cottle?
Yes.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Paul?
No.
President Beck?
Yes. Can I also have a motion to waive the inspection fees? I think they're like $25.
So
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the food pantry flat roof repair. Thank you, guys.
Well, but, Ms. Rimmer, do you know when we can anticipate this happening?
Well, he gave us a 4 to 6 week lead time,
Okay.
but then it's going to hit the holidays, so I don't know if they're going to be able to do it this year or not.
Okay.
So we hopefully they can. What?
Yeah, 426.
Yeah, that's why I tried to get.
46.
Yes, 46 weeks. No, 4 to 6 weeks, but that's going to hit right at Thanksgiving, so as soon as we call up, let them know that we approved it, we can maybe get that deadline, and then I'll let everyone know.
Thank you.
Okay, the food pantry flat roof repair proposal. Did everybody get a copy of that? We've had some problems with the village buildings not being kept up. And information from Francis Pete at the food pantry, every time it rains, they have gushing water coming into the food pantry, which is not a good idea. There's food storage. So, we did get a quote from Envision. They are the company, we put out an RFP, we did get a quote from Envision. They are the company that did a great job on our DPW building, which was very nice. The amount for the equipment and the labor, and that's including a gutter system, is $15,500. I think we got another quote from another company. We only got 2 quotes from Premier Builder, and they wanted to repair the roof without gutters for $24,000. We need to get this done. The building is falling into disrepair. It has been for several years, never been addressed. So I think we need to repair the building. Anybody have any questions?
Just for the record, we own the building.
It is a municipal building, that's correct. And we'll be addressing, there's a missing masonry around one of the doors. Our building inspector said we could do that repair very easily. There's some cracked tiles, they were installed incorrectly and they're cracked, so we're gonna address that too. But the roof right now, it's not in good shape, it's leaking in the building and the food pantry. So do I have a motion?
I have a question. It looks like we only received the quote for Envision, not the other one.
I forwarded that because the deadline for the RFP was the day after I sent you guys the email for the
Oh,
packet.
gotcha.
And then I forwarded the email like a day or 2 later after Sandy got all of
On
those.
Friday, she said.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. That's not-
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from Envision Finishing for $15,500. That's flat roof repairs and coating for $12,008 and gutter system $2,700.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Paul?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Cottle?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
And President Beck?
Yes. Okay, exterior lighting for the police and municipal parking. If you remember, you approved low-cost lighting improvements to the fire side, and I was convinced that the rest of the building should also be upgraded, and I have to admit, the party was right. Again, they're giving us a pretty incredible deal. The incentive, the total cost was $6,000, but the incentives and rebates came up to $2,700. So to do the parking lot and the police side of the building, is $3,487. It will save us $2,950 in lighting. So it will pay for itself almost the first year. I gotta admit, I'm not fond of making improvements to somebody else's building, but this does make sense. To kind of bring it up, the lighting is kind of dim, and it could be possibly a pedestrian hazard in the dark. So, any questions?
I have one on, we've done the street lighting before, we did the fire side, and they always have the energy savings and the payback. Are we actually realizing the amounts that they're saving, if you will?
Yes, we are.
Are we?
I talked to Cindy about that.
All right.
It's a ballpark figure, of course, but yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
In just perspective, you go behind this building at night, like when the sheriff's back there, we'll occasionally have a need to go back there. The sheriff may call and ask us to meet him over there to check out something. Speaking on the fire department half, it's pitch black almost over there. It's and then you don't really think about it too much until they fix the fire department side. Now it looks like you've got the dingy side and the normal side over there. It was a great ad. It changed going on night calls and stuff night and day over there. It's
I will
really.
say, I do come into the building at night now that it's getting darker earlier, and I'll come in at night and it was a little creepy, even in the front coming in.
So I think this is a good update as well.
Anyone else have any questions?
So the amount we'll be approving is the 3487?
Yes. And that will cover the rest of the building, including the police side. Any other questions or concerns? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the quote from Energy Specialties Group in the amount of $3,487.
Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera? Yes.
Yes. Catch basins, Village Hall and Amherst, Mr. Cooper.
I had D&J, who has been the company that has been doing all of our catch basins throughout the village, go through Amherst, and we went through and inspected all the catch basins and compiled a list of complete rebuilds and other ones that we could just partial rebuild, I should say. And you should see the quote that they sent. That's for the complete and partial rebuilds in Amherst. Then also we have numerous around the Village Hall that are also bad. So like President Primer said, we really don't want to fix on somebody else's stuff, but we got to do what we got to do, because I know there's one over in the fire department side that it's bad. It's extremely bad. It's going to be a full replacement. So I had them put together some numbers. I know, they're up there, but.
Now, Amherst, the one quote is for the Village Hall, and that is $11,880. Those are the bad ones. Amherst, we have two different pricings. We have one for complete failure, $14,700, and then we have an amount for partial failures, $35,640. Now, the Amherst partial failures, could we carry those over to next year?
We could possibly carry those over to next year.
Okay.
Yes. The complete failures need to be done as soon as possible. The partials, we could carry them over. I would rather not, but if we have to, first thing in the spring, hit the ground rolling, because those partials could become complete failures, actually, through the winter, So we kind of got to be careful with that, but
And just for the record, these are all on the public roads, not in the alleys, correct?
Yes, yes.
How many catch basins are there in Amherst?
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think there's 21 on that list, I believe. But there's,
18, oh, these are partial and then.
yeah, 21 total on the list. But throughout the whole Amherst,
There's 18 partial failures and 3 complete failures.
When we did it, we did this already in Decor Park and did all of Decor Park. So now it's moving to Amherst.
Yeah.
and just-
yeah, we're gonna hold off on Pembroke right now because they're still doing construction, so we don't want to do Pembroke right now.
Now, if they start construction at Amherst 5 and 6, would that cause,
No.
would that, okay. Because that won't be, I mean, so.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a couple of different areas, so we should be okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Craigmore, what would be the incentive to like push some off until the spring?
Well, I was concerned that $25,000 was kind of a hard pill for everyone to swallow right now. We do have to get the complete failures done, and we do have to get the village hall failures done. But adding another $35,000 on top of it, you know. So, I mean, if we're able to spread the pain a little bit,
But, I mean, okay.
yeah,
I think with Decor, we did do it in a phased approach.
yeah.
What is the fund balance right now for you?
Really, we've got enough to cover everything, but it would be skinning it'd be taking the account down pretty low.
Well, we're going into the construction of this zone, kind of.
Yeah, we are. But, you know, that's why I wanted to kind of bring the idea forward of doing a phased approach like we did with Decorah. Or if you guys want to rip the bandage off and pay $60,000 to do 60,000, I mean, it's your option. So,
Mr. Kelly, do you have any insight as far as that budget?
If there's more, I don't think that that's gonna, I'm looking for it now. I reviewed all the fund balances, but I didn't balance that one out, but it wasn't enough. Because I mean, if you just looked at, again, reading this can be a little bit complicated, but that comes just out of the major street funds, which I believe it could, right? There's $800,000 in that fund.
but it's going to drop at 60.
So it's gonna drop 800, and that might, so I would support doing it all, because you don't want your half, the partials over a harsh winter to become fulls next year, and over double, you're gonna double that bill, because that's 18, right? That's a significant increase next year, so I would imagine they're gonna get them all in before winter. They seem, when I watched them do it, they seemed quick on the draw when they did a quarter park, right? So,
But also keep in mind, we're also going to have other road projects. So this 60,000 would be, it's an impact on 800,000. But we do have a sinkhole at Victoria, the culvert at Victoria, and Clark Street. And there's some other road problems we've got going on, so we do have to be cautious about the amount of money we spend. So I thought maybe a phased approach might be more fiscally responsible if we don't know, in anticipation of what we don't know. So, I mean, totally, again, totally up to you guys, if you think you want to just get it all done, or do the phased approach.
Well, the culverts, correct, for at Clark and Victoria, is $6,000.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So,
yeah. When I did the math on all these, it didn't make my antennae buzz. It did make me want to go back to my, just on the talking point of, if this had all the fund balances listed on it with exactly what's available for us to make decisions against, we wouldn't be debating this right now. It's in our packet, so I don't want to debate that. It is here, but you have to go look for it now.
You know,
But anyways, I did go through and balance it all out, and it didn't, I was like, yeah, that's, I don't want to say small potatoes, because it's not, but there's a lot of money for these improvements. Sorry?
I have to apologize. I meant to talk to Sandy about that, and I have it on a note on my desk, and I'll talk to her about that.
Any of these fund balances, because it'd just be the 3 or 4 entries, fire department fund, street fund, highway fund, whatever those remaining balances are, because I'm reading it as 800,000, but I'd be really interested to see what Sandy comes back in and says, how much of that you actually can't go and touch, because we took our reserve, we have a fund balance policy now that says this, so that would need to be kind of taken off. So the number she gives us would be, anyways, but I still,
She did say that one.
but it's still, so I would say that we're not even close to coming to what that fund balance reserve is, and that I can track in future projects we've approved, for whatever that's worth, so.
And then are there other projects?
But he can't have his backhoe. No, I'm just kidding.
Are there other
Just kidding.
projects, projects that are gonna come next month that we are not aware of just yet?
Marcus, do we have any, it's getting to be the end of the season.
We're gonna continuously do streets every year, hopefully, you know, but as far as catch basins go, we're pretty much getting to, I won't say the end because it'll never be the end, but we're knocking them out.
And we don't, what trustee Bonkowski was asking is, we don't really foresee any other major projects coming up in the next few months, or?
No,
So what would you like to do, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, how about we take out the easy one first? I make a motion that we approve the quote for D&J contracting for the Village Hall catch basin repairs in the amount of $11,880.
Support.
Roll call?
Trustee Meisen?
Yes.
Trustee Dombrowski?
Yes.
Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Foley?
Yes.
And President Wright.
Yes. And do we have a second motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the estimate from D&J to do the Amherst work, which includes 18 partial and 3 complete failure catch basins. And the amount of $50,340.
Support.
Roll call?
I have any
Go
questions or
ahead,
comments?
go ahead.
So I just want to comment that I'm just kind of mirroring what Mark said earlier, that yes, we have to spend our tax dollars wisely, but yet invest in what we have. And I don't see any sense in doing some of them now to have them possibly be more later.
Okay.
So that's my comment.
Roll call?
Trustee Dombrowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Meisen?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
And President Wright.
Yes. Clark Street and Victoria?
there's a sinkhole that started forming on Clark and Victoria, right under the road where the culvert is, metal, corrugated metal culvert. So we got prices because we're gonna take the whole, have the contractor take the whole culvert out and put a new cement culvert in. That's what should be in there anyways. And we pay the street and, well, that section, I should say.
So they close the street down there for a short period of time?
Yes, it will be closed now for,
And the local street fund balance is $730,435.
There's a hole in the road. There's a hole in the road. Would DJ address this first before he catches?
yes, we'll ask them to address the culvert situation first so we can get the cones and everything out of the way and, and that's, should be,
Any questions?
Does it affect Clark more or Victoria more, or is it?
actually both, because if you're turning off of Clark onto Victoria, you have to go around cones and vice versa. It's like, limiting it to the left lane.
You have to swing into oncoming traffic to
Yeah,
go
you have to
around.
swing in,
Yeah, we just can't know.
Yeah, I was kind of showing how much they don't get
So
out
will they
of the house.
redo that whole shoulder right there, or just the culvert?
They're gonna do the culvert and the road, and the shoulder is 21A limestone, so they'll
So,
dress it
Is
up.
it the culvert that runs under Victoria
Yes.
then?
Yes.
Oh.
Ditch to ditch.
There's a little bit of potential liability there with how close that is to the sidewalk too, right? I mean, somebody goes off in a bicycle and goes too far to the right, chief will have to go get him with a fire truck.
Any other questions or concerns? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the quote from D&J Contracting for the culvert replacement at, or the amount of $5,950.
Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Capoli?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
And President Price.
Yes. Okay, and now we've got Wi-Fi at the community parks. Again, the ARP funds, the limited scope does include broadband and internet. And we thought that we'd get some quotes on bringing Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi to both community park and Fountain Park. People use the parks, they'd be able to go online. If they're at the park playing with their children, they'd be able to go online and check their email. We got quotes from SYO, and again, these will be coming out of the American Rescue Plan funding because it is internet. To put the antennas up at Wi-Fi, at the Wi-Fi community park, it's $3,386, and that will cover the antenna mounts, cable drops, cover the basketball court, the soccer field, which will also include playground for the children, and it will, I think it will go back to where we have used it in the park. It will also enable us to use safety locks to install camera because we've had an ongoing issue with damage at the park. So we could also install security there as well. But this gives us an opportunity to bring to Wi-Fi a little bit closer to the residents that may be able to use it. We got a quote also for Fountain Park. It's a little cheaper, $1,175. It is just one drop and one cable box that will cover in all of Fountain Park.
Did you say something about bathrooms, too, using that to lock and unlock the bathrooms?
Yeah, we can install smart locks. So if somebody has a family picnic going on, where before DPW had to go back out and lock the doors, we can have smart locks, where they could lock the doors remotely. So, and we could also put extra security on pump houses. That would all be enabled with the Wi-Fi. So it's just kind of upgrading the technology that we have here in the village.
We'd be able to do cameras at Fountain Park as well. Seems like the fountain has been vandalized multiple times.
That's one of the goals, yes, because the suds and the asphalt that was thrown into the fountain. Plus we do have, now we have a butterfly garden there, a cement planter, so certainly we want to safeguard what we got, so. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
This is just all the equipment, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And what is the monthly, what we pay for the service?
It's free.
Oh, perfect. We'll take two.
You will. Any other questions or concerns?
I will make a motion to install Wi-Fi to accept the estimate from SYO Computer Engineering Services, the first one at Fountain Park. Can I do them together?
Sure.
Okay. For a total of $1,175. And the second one is for Community Park for $3,386. And that money is going to come out of the federal funds, correct?
Yes, community rescue.
Support.
Roll call.
Mr. Dombrowski?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It'll be coming out of the general fund first, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But then we get reimbursed. Actually, when we get the American Rescue Plan funds, and we anticipate getting the first tranche deposited in a few weeks, it'll be deposited in our general fund, and it will be paid from those funds. It's not like we have to front it and then submit for reimbursement. We've got the money, but we have to justify what we spend it on. So. Any other questions or concerns? And we'll be at the roll call, please.
Trustee Dombrowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Connell?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
President Price.
Yes. An amendment to ordinance 145, Mr. Gaddis.
Yes, we continue to keep updating when we find things that are not up to date. This ordinance, and I know it's been discussed here before, basically takes assault on crimes, assault and battery, which in almost every village and township in Michigan is a misdemeanor. Our older approach here that we want to correct has it as a civil infraction, which points to days long gone by. And in order to force it appropriately in the district court, it should be in that what this makes it is a misdemeanor. That does not prevent us from pleading minor altercations down to civil infractions if that's appropriate in a particular case. But in order to take it through the process of district court and in order to prosecute more serious assaults and batteries, this is what needs to be adopted.
Any questions? No concerns?
What was the ordinance number that for tonight?
145.
145.
No, we're amending.
We're amending.
Oh,
The ordinance number is 392.
I'm sorry, what?
392?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 392, an amendment to section 366-4 of the existing Village of New Haven ordinance number 145, intended to revise violations and penalties for offenses listed in ordinance number 145.
support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Parks and Rec Fall Festival, our Parks and Rec Department is going to be partnering with the Lions Club for a fall festival at Community Park. And they were not able to approve the budget because there was a lack of attendance at their last meeting. So I told them, so we wouldn't have to cancel the entire event, that I would bring it forth to council. The money I'm asking you to approve today is for the DJ in the amount of $325 for the fall festival.
I make a motion to approve the DJ for the fall festival in the amount of $325.
Yes.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the post-construction stormwater ordinance.
That's on.
Thank you. Good evening. Part of the MS4 permit requirements that the village is required to have by the state, there is a post-construction regulations that the state has sent to everybody, not just the village. All municipalities that have the MS4 draft permit to formally adopt a post-construction control mechanism. So I sent the draft to Madam President, and the state is looking for a confirmation that we have a draft to present by November 1st. So we just heard that our ordinance is not sufficient because we normally just reference Macomb County ordinance, and we just require all sites to adhere to that ordinance by the county, but it's not sufficient in accordance to the state, so they want us to draft our own ordinance. So I sent a template to Madam President, and Sean, actually our attorney, looked at it, and he doesn't have a problem with it. So we are here tonight seeking council approval to send a draft using that template back to the state, notifying them that this will be our draft submittal, and then once they approve it, we will get with the attorney and draft our actual ordinance after we get the state approval.
Do you have any questions?
So we're looking for approval of the draft.
Yes, we just want to vote to submit the draft for review. I thought we had to approve an ordinance, so I checked the whole thing up. So,
And apologies for not fully comprehending it. When we're talking about post-construction stormwater controls, we're talking like, I'm thinking in like Decorah where they're doing the construction, they put I call them coffee filters around. Yeah, that then causes our streets to flood every time it rains.
Correct.
Okay.
So I do have a couple questions. But this does go on after I take receipt of my house. If I've got a storm drain in my backyard, this talks about me if I'm reading it correctly, it talks about me having a requirement to build or to do, I forget the wording now, I meant to highlight it and I didn't, but I have to do something with the village, enter into an agreement with the village or something like that, that I own that. So then I went back and I thought, well, maybe they're only talking about the big stuff, and then it says private residence, so it is talking about my house. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that, about, you know, are we putting something, I mean, first of all, if it's a requirement, it is, but we need to be clear that this kind of makes it look like, I'm gonna have to find it here.
What section are you?
It's section 8 on page 4.
Thanks.
Property owner upon completion of construction must enter into a binding long-term maintenance agreement with the village at their own expense to document, routinely monitor, and maintain the stormwater quantity and quality BMPs so they continue to operate as designed.
Yeah, normally that would fall under the HOA. So whoever that entity, if you're part of a subdivision, it will fall under the HOA regulations. If you're not, then it would be part of the public system, which we already taken care of that. So you're not going to get it though, if that's what you asked.
Well, I'm worried about well, I'm not worried about, I mean, I just want to make sure I understand because this also kind of goes to my second question, which is this authorizes, and it just was news to me, or never heard of it before, that the village engineer has the authority to write the violation or hire somebody to write the violation.
Incorrect. That's just a draft, and everybody knows. I don't have any authority. We are recommending consultant. So that would be revised.
So during that draft, we can tell them residents are going to take responsibility for the stormwater drain and back in the property. That's part of the draft, I guess, process. Again, it was last minute because they were asking for this like now, and I took the draft and just plugged in the appropriate names. But there were that issue and the resident liability for, there's a mention of resident liability for the sewers in front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's not going to happen with it. So
This is just a template, boilerplate language.
You know, that makes good sense. I just think because it says whenever the village engineer or his designated finds a person is violated, it says a person defined as me, because that's defined further. So again, as far as the draft goes to comply with that, that makes good sense. That this is common sense. But I think when it comes back for an actual implementation, we need to really read what it says, because what I'd hate to do is have a storm basin in my backyard, which actually my neighbor's going to, and then I do runoff into that, and that person's, this could be read the way I read it, that person could be liable for that mitigation of what's in that sewer, right? And so like we can make it clear the HOA and they need to enforce rules, all that kind of stuff, but that was just from a quick read before the council meeting, so.
yeah, and they'll be in contact with both of us about whether the draft was acceptable or not. We're certainly going to voice our concerns about the draft.
Makes sense.
And just to clarify, this draft would be just to satisfy the state for now, and then when the ordinance comes up, then we can.
Well, when they
That's all I'm
come,
concerned with.
after we do a back and forth about what we find acceptable and what they want, definitely you guys will get the copy and decide whether or not we need further discussion on what's in there. So, but this was, again, last minute, and we just have to throw something in front of it right now and say, so certainly this is the beginning of the process.
Yeah, this is actually, I think it's City of Lansing ordinance. They just use it as a template.
Lansing or Wayne County or Lansing?
Yeah, Wayne was what
None of them.
developed that,
Yeah.
and then I think City of Lansing is adopting the first ordinance. There are a couple of communities that are already done. We have not seen them yet. I wish we did, so we have more detail and more in the neighborhood. Not somebody who's far and don't know how they deal with their system, something local. But again, they sent that notification in October 7th, requiring us to submit the draft by November 1st. So, cornered.
So do I have a motion to submit the draft?
Make a motion that we submit the draft as required by the state.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Mason?
So this one, just a topic for discussion. I know, in the past, we've talked about village manager, and we've had to talk about, I don't even remember if we actually passed the ordinance. I think we just tabled it and put it aside. Was just curious if it was a topic that was worth bringing back up. It seems like there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the village. We have, our population is continuing to grow. And it just seems like there's always, there's just having somebody full-time, off the village manager, responsible for, the day-to-day operations of the village. Just seems like this is a topic that still is worthwhile to look at. Just curious what others' thoughts were on it.
Yeah, I said it last time when we brought it up, if we could be able to justify it as a full-time job. But last time I didn't, no one ever gave me anything that would give me 40 hours a week or whatever of actual work, and not just being a chair.
Yeah, I think I'd have to see the same thing, right? I mean, what would we be, I mean, I think it's, in some ways it makes common sense that we have somebody managing the day-to-day, because I think right now that basically all falls to you, right? That you're basically doing all of the day-to-day. I don't interact with anybody.
Oh, Sandy's been, I have to give her credit. She has been a rock star. Absolute rock star.
So I don't know if,
Certainly, if you guys are interested, we can format job descriptions and get descriptions from other communities our size to see what their village managers do. We got as far as, I think, interviews last time, didn't we? Yeah. The last election, there was a turnover at the village president's position, the clerk's position, and the treasurer's position. And it doesn't lend itself to a lot of stability at the village level. And like you said, so far, our latest stats, we've got over 6,000 residents in New Haven, and it's only going to get bigger. So.
It just seems like we have a lot of ideas that we really want to bring forward, and we want to, we want more for the village. To me, it just seems like, if it's the pleasure of council that, we actually do look into it, I can do some of the legwork of reaching out to other villages of our size, seeing what they have, for village manager duties and responsibilities and day-to-day operations and so on. I just didn't want to go do all that work and then find out that nobody else really supports the idea. So if you're at least interested in a little bit more information about it, I can.
I'd almost think the process a little backwards. What is the going rate for a village manager? What is somebody making out there right now? Because if you kind of look at a ballpark and say, here's kind of the mean, but here's the max, and you kind of take the mean and the max and say, what's that look like? Because then you can simply go back into our budget and go, okay, if we agree, what does our budget say? Because we go through all that work to come back in and say, to really get somebody who's quality, because it's really going to, you get quality, you pay for quality. We just talked about it with a sign, right? You pay for that. So if that quality doesn't equate to the budget, because that is a little bit more than just doing numbers in the middle of a meeting, right, to figure out the benefits package.
Close to 100,000 for the salary and the taxes and everything on top of it. The cost of the village
No.
was around 70,000 for the salary.
The salary was 40 to 65,000, and 65,000 was a community of 12,000. I still got to pay for it.
Okay.
So, but it's what you negotiate, and again with the benefits, like you said, in healthcare. But this position would take a heck of a haircut. So that was one part of it. So I think it's something worth exploring, considering the scope of what the job is going to be as the population grows. And we would not have to hire a grant writer, because that would be one of the requirements.
Right, actually, thank you for bringing that up, because that was actually one of the things that I was thinking about while we were talking about the RFP grant writer.
Yeah. And the networking alone. Village managers they have their managers have their own association in the state of Michigan. They network, they share ideas, best practices. So certainly why don't we get some more information if you wouldn't mind doing that?
Sure.
And I can get you the wage scales on the Michigan Municipal League website.
Yeah, and I'm part of the village mailing list, so I can reach out to their.
Yeah, they sent one out, I was trying to find an email I got recently that listed a survey they did of all the municipalities in Michigan, and it listed full-time, part-time, how many hours a month, like, people had to reach out and tell them, you know,
Yeah.
what they
Right.
did, but it was
That's all
really
in the-
thorough.
That's all on the wage page on
Yeah,
MNO.
and
So it's a really good resource.
It's a broader discussion that I'd like to have too. I mean, just, even outside of just village manager, there's a lot of things that we want to do, and I think we need to make sure that we're paying at the right scale as well.
The wages has gone up further in electronics.
So, then I'm in a different line of
I don't
work.
think there's any circuit cards in village manager, so.
Chip shortage.
Chip shortage, yeah.
Okay, so we all agree, Mr. Larson, to do
Yeah,
some homework for us?
I'll do a little bit more homework than.
I wouldn't support lessening. I think you made a comment, I want to make sure I understood that, maybe it comes at a cut to village. I wouldn't support any cuts to anybody else's salary or benefits for that benefit right there, right? I think that looking long-term, we still need to make sure that the village president position or trustees, whatever it is, that those are, that there's still some form of an incentive in doing those jobs, right? So you still want to make sure that you're taking care of those folks. So I don't think it should come at the cost of other aspects of the village. So it's either maybe some, like the grant writer thing, I get the trade-offs, but I don't know, just my food for thought.
Part of the discussion, it's a good point. Okay, so unfinished business, DPW backhaul.
We got quotes for a new backhoe, and I'm sorry, but I wasn't at the last meeting, and I heard that you all may have had some questions, so I'm here to answer them.
I believe the question I had last time was, what are we spending on maintenance to fix and repair the current one?
The backhoe currently, we've sent it in for maintenance on the hydraulics, the starter. I'm glad that Craig isn't here today from AIS. I had to jump start it half the time. I wasn't gonna drive it up here tonight, but I didn't want to get stuck here, so I didn't do that. Hydraulic system leaks hydraulic fluid everywhere. I've been here almost 20 years. It was here when I was here, when I first started. It's at the point, I was digging a grave 2 weeks ago, and the arm just started swinging. It's time to get a new machine. It's not safe. It's just a matter of time before it fails. We dig, on average, 20 plus graves a year. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. 20 plus graves. Every truck we load up, we use the backhoe. Stock boxes, we dig it with the backhoe. We've done getting back to the maintenance, we've sent it to AIS numerous times. Right now, with Komatsu's are kind of like obsolete. The fittings are hard to find. When they fix the fitting, a week later, it's leaking. We had to put sheets over a gravestone the other day because the hydraulic fluid just gushing out of it. And I was just trying to get it done before it just emptied out. It's at that point where if we had to dig something, I don't even want my guys even around me. I'm telling them, go way over there, because the controls are just doing things because of the hydraulic system is shot. Once again, I'm glad Craig isn't here. You have to jump start it. Sometimes it starts up. 9 out of 10 times you jump start it. Tires, we replace tires. I don't know if it's the rims. We had to go to the rims. No, the rims look good. Tires still go flat. It's getting to the point where it's done. It's lived its life.
Is the company in business anymore that made it?
AIS.
No,
We,
the backhoe.
oh, Komatsu is still around. Komatsu used to be
Can you get parts for it?
3 to 6 months.
So like in the last 2 years, what have we spent on fixing it?
I don't know the exact number. A lot of times house if we can fix them. Because if we take it down to AIS, we have to drive it down there. And if we have a funeral or something, we don't have anything to dig with. So we just kind of, I don't know the exact number of,
Is
you
it
know,
like tens of thousands or thousands?
oh, it's not tens of thousands, I don't think. But, you know, it's things here and there, you know. Like right now, like if I take it down to get the hydraulic system going through, it's gonna be very expensive. There's the cylinders are done. There's a part on it, even when you extend the arm, it's just hitting a valve or hitting a compression fitting and it's just spraying. We tried to even form a part that, you know, it's just a part to go over it to protect it, and they even tried, and it's just one of those things that every time that pressurization goes in there, it's just squirting out hydraulic fluid. Like I said, the arm just goes, it has a mind of its own. I really don't want the guys even around it. I operate and I just tell them to go somewhere else or stand over so we can get things done and go from there. You know, I've been trying to just keep working with it, but it's to the point where it's time to retire.
What would the estimate be to fix the hydraulic system?
The estimate for hydraulic system, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. Besides the hydraulic system and the starters and everything else, you know, the machine is just shot. It's like from the top to bottom, it's pretty shot.
So we started with the and Marcus, do you have the money in your budget to cover that?
For the backhoe, in the past, they taken out what, I think,
So if I could, so Sandy gave us a memo, if you remember last time, she broke it down, so I went back through and did my, you know, I did because I didn't do the deep dive much like Mario does, even though I think those are completely relevant talking points. I went back into what is this thing we have, and it is obsolete by definition, right? So I'm not sure, you know, what I found on it, that you'd replace a cylinder. I don't think you'd replace a cylinder on it. I think it'd cost you more than, you know, $20,000, $30,000 to do a cylinder on something like that. But at that point, she came back and said she took the fund balances, like we just talked about, the major street funds, which is 900 and some thousand. I guess we just took 60 or whatever off that. So, but she broke out major street funds, water fund, and cemetery funds. And between those funds, the 103,994, which I'm assuming is still a valid estimate, right? So that's 1.5 million in available funds to pull across from to pay for it. So there's 1.5 million available for the 103,000. But I wouldn't recommend we pull anything out of cemetery funds because we just fixed cemetery funds from the perpetual care that was, remember we did that as part of our budget approval. So I would think that pulling it as a ratio out of major street funds and water fund would make perfect sense, you know.
And I would hesitate to keep pumping repair money into a 20-year-old vehicle.
I'm not suggesting we do, I just want to be able to justify spending $100,000 if we didn't have to. But it's not like we did, so.
And I would say, you know, I don't know about comparing this to just other backhoes out there, but, because there's so many to pick from, but if you take the state's contract and what we save on jumping on this AIS state's contract, again, the closest I could get this, if you remember from last time, was $130,000 was the closest I could get to just somebody trying to buy one of these backhoes that we have the ability to purchase on this state contract for $103,000. So based on just those factors, it's a great deal. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't some who knows what out there, but I don't see it. I couldn't find it.
I do have a question on how, you said not to take anything out of the cemetery fund, but if they dig a grave, Sandy still allocates that cost to that fund, right?
It does, right.
Yes.
Right.
The
And
actual
so
work,
it's,
but not the equipment.
right, so it's 226,000 in it right now, right, in that fund balance. And I would say that's not bad. but it still has a little bit of ways to go to get to where we want the perpetual fund, because I'm gonna draw a blank on it, but I wanna say it's the number of, there's a dollar amount associated with the number of plots that we have, both in use and not in use, that you're required to have. And we weren't even in that ballpark. Like, I think we had like $12,000, because it's just not something we worried about. But, you know, the problem is, and why I wouldn't recommend touching that, just for my sake of the discussion, is when that fills up, which I hope it doesn't anytime soon, right? But when it does, all that we've got is the perpetual funds to maintain it, right? So, in theory, because Sandy was telling me something about millages, when you can no longer bury people in it, there's consequences to that you can't offer it as a capability. Anyway,
And
so.
I just found out the families are responsible for maintaining the mausoleum, because I was very concerned about the condition that it was in, because she said it's the family's responsibility. Because I thought we were gonna have to put someone into that, but.
They have the keys to the mausoleum also, the families are actually do.
Right.
Yeah, part of it's being maintained, and part of it isn't, so, but it's,
You get a family once in a while that comes up and, you know, do their part.
yeah.
I think the trustee proposed point, when it's being used as in the cemetery, it does get allocated cost to the grave.
Yes,
Like
we charge,
the
we
depreciation
charge their
value
cemetery.
goes into that.
Yeah.
So I think
Man hours and.
Yes.
it does eventually go to the cemetery, cost.
But not the cost of purchase.
Not the cost of
You're saying the
purchase.
cost of purchase, don't pick it up.
Don't
Yeah, I would not recommend, I mean, it's, well, first of all, it's just, you know, if she took a ratio out of each one, it would come out to be, rough math, it would be 60,000 out of major, 20,000 out of water fund, and 10,000 out of cemetery, something like that is what it would do. And it would almost be, why pull anything out of cemetery and risk that fund balance? If you had a major issue in the cemetery with a tree or, you know, water drainage and had to do a bunch of work, that could get really expensive real quick, especially if you've got exhumed, right? That's really expensive real quick, so.
Do not jinx it, do not jinx it.
I know, right?
But there are also financing options available. So we don't have to worry about, if you so decide you're not taking all the money out of the funds immediately. So are there any other questions or concerns? Do we want to move forward with purchasing the backhoe loader?
I'm in support of moving forward with
Okay, should we, if you guys are in support of purchasing it, let's talk about the purchase options.
Yeah, so
We'll have the motion to purchase it with the options that we choose. Go ahead.
So, I'm kind of trying to help out, trustee Capoli over here, because he was saying he doesn't have the quote in front of him. So, our options, if we were going for purchase options, it was 60-month, with a $1 purchase option, 2.75% interest, one advance payment of $21,956.64, followed by 4 annual premiums of $21,956. There's some screen freeze up. The other one was 72 months at 2.75 interest with one payment of $18,543 or 5 annual payments of $18,543. And the last option was 84 months, one advanced payment of $16,107, 6 annual payments of $16,107.94. I don't know if that helps you.
So those are operating leases until purchase, right? So that's
Right.
4.5% you're gonna pay over that lease, so that makes it even more expensive and almost takes away you're gonna get $11,000 for your trade-in.
2.75, the lease was for.
The lease option is 4.5, purchase option is 2.75, or a 60-month or a 70.
So that's two, that doesn't totally destroy your trade-in, but it hurts your trade-in, which I'm surprised you're gonna get $11,500 for that, but.
That's what metal price.
Yeah, so it's probably why Mark's just like, he's glad he's not here talking about replacing stuff on it, but at any rate, again, I'm not sure, I would see, well, personally, I don't know if I'd see the value in financing something that we can buy with the 1 point,
Oh, right.
the available funds, 1 point something million right now that we have available. Even if we take off today's purchases, we're still at 1,300,000 of available funds. And that's not even touching the general fund. That's just taking it out of those other three funds. General funds isn't touched by any of this if we follow Sandy's recommendation.
Forgot about that part.
I agree with the number that I cannot spend the money on this, but that's my opinion.
I mean, it's only, what, $3,000, $3,200, but $3,200 matters.
Any other questions or concerns? Do I have a motion?
Can we, now that we're starting fresh with something, because you said something very important, you said, oh, we're always fixing it, and that's at your department's expense, about maybe, keeping good records, and even if you just, do you?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what I mean, because then that,
Writers and
that
all
helps.
fluids and everything,
Right.
we've been doing that.
Right, that just helps your story to get, for us to understand, like, this is how many hours we put in repairing and how much money we spent in supplies. Even though AIS didn't do it, you still did it, and that is a cost to the village. The material and your time that could be used to do something else. Okay, that's all.
And the warranty on it is 60 months or 2,000 hours on the powertrain and hydraulics?
We're making a motion to purchase, how do you want to do that? Do we make the motion of how we allocate it across the three, or do we just leave that to Sandy?
I think we leave it up to her, and just say without, well, maybe we just say without pulling money from the cemetery fund, just pulling it out of those two
So we
other
can,
funds, however you want to articulate it.
so just, if you want to pay cash up front, you can make a motion to purchase.
Just purchase it out there.
Yeah.
Make motion that we purchase the backhoe at the amount for, so 103, 540, and 40 cents.
I got one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was not reading the document.
Oh, yeah, that's not the finance.
Yeah, well, that's why I was a little confused, because there was the amount to finance, we're not financing, so total sale price minus trade-in, cash price, net trade-in.
That's what I did.
Yeah, so I think that is, yeah, so, okay, so, purchase of the backhoe in the amount of $103,994.40.
Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Meisel?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
President Clark?
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, Marijuana Committee Dispensary, Mr. Picola. You want it on the agenda, right?
No, these
Resident.
gentlemen did.
Oh, I thought you put it on the agenda. Okay. Yes, please come up.
Thank you again for seeing me. I did draw up some paperwork, just a little bio about myself and what it is we're trying to do within the village. If you would like a copy, I'm sure we can bypass a lot of talk and questions, get to questions or concerns. But while I was passing that out, again, my name is Glenn Fatty. I've been a white member here, third generation. Excuse me. I spoke a little bit about myself and what it is that I've done and accomplished throughout my career. I've also spoke about the importance of the mental health community and the marijuana and what it has, the effects and what it does for people such as myself. And I'm here to tell you that I wouldn't be able to stand up here and talk to you if I wasn't on some type of marijuana that I have been prescribed by my doctors and with all the other medication and things that I do take to live a normal life, I guess. And I also I'm here to try to debunk this whole theory about, mental illness being an invisible wound. That's crap to me, as I know you look at me and I may not have it or you don't see it, but those close to me know. And we need to help those people, and that's part of this is the education thing, So I'm asking for the council to vote and approve village ordinance for us to be able to open up a dispensary so that not only myself, but other local members of our village have the same opportunity. And we talked about that safe thing. You being safe, the only place I can go right now is downtown to Detroit, 8 Mile or Wood and look here. I think there's some others sprouting up now. I did do my research. Lennox gave out, I believe, 9 combination of dispensary, grow, and other things, and they've yet to have anything yet. Because these guys are out there trying to get these licenses in the village on their side to open up so that they can profit from it as a business aspect, but the village as well as a financial aspect, getting the revenue from that business and making the upgrades that we're talking about on all of these new agenda items and things like that. That stuff would come in from that business. My investors are ready. They have the property, they have the licensing, and the eagerness and the drive to do this as well as me. I guess I'll open it up for questions, concerns, but before, I turn it over, and I don't know if you guys can take a vote on this today, but if you are, and I'm asking you to approve this ordinance, and, excuse me, but before you do, please read my bio and see what I've done, what I've been through. And all of those around us that walk the sidewalks that we walk, and how it could help them as well. And it does help many people. I have not had anybody prove me wrong that medical marijuana or even recreational marijuana has killed anybody, or this or that. It's helped people. And you start getting into all those others. I'm not going to go there because of the drug thing, but I don't consider it a drug anymore. It is regulated and it is at a recreational point. So here, I'm going to turn it over. In a second, but my partner is Zach Fetty.
We're all family. It's a family business. So I wanted just to communicate that we're not just some company. We grew up here, went to school here. Our grandparents had their first business here. So we're rooted deeply in this community, and we want to invest in the community. We want to give back to the community. It's not just this thing we want to open up and make money. We're here for the long run. If you look at the other places like Lennox, a lot of people are coming up, they're getting applications, and they're trying to sell the applications and make money. That's not us. We want to get the application, we want to get it rooted here in the community, and we want to share our visions, and we want to help upgrade the community, invest in it, festivals or Wi-Fi, help out and invest in the community, make it better for all of us and our children that are growing up here.
Now, I turn it over.
What year was it that we had the marijuana community? Was that
2018.
18? I think it would be time to form the community again, because at that time, I remember we had a lot of questions because the law was new at the time. And now we have 4 or 5 years of the law being enacted. We can see what happened to other villages and other cities and townships.
And I think at the time it was only medical marijuana, if I remember correctly, we didn't even consider it recreational.
Oh, yeah, right, that was medical.
No, actually, it was up for all 5 recreational facilities.
Back in 2018?
Yeah.
Recreational wasn't around.
It was in 2019, in January, when we first decided to form, 2019.
The committee, I think the committee, if I remember correctly, the committee was medical marijuana. We did have an ordinance or a discussion internally with council for recreational.
Okay,
But
medical marijuana, we could not,
You had to opt in.
we couldn't opt out of it.
we did.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. You
Medical,
can't.
medical marijuana.
Yeah.
You opted out of recreational.
We opted out of both.
But you had to opt in the medical.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, yeah.
Because trustee Vinnie Kirkhoff at the time was on the committee, so it had been before.
I was the chair of the committee.
Yeah.
When-
He was
yeah.
on the committee.
I know we discussed the 5 licenses.
The 5 licenses, but
Right.
those were all still for medical marijuana. And at the time with that, you had to, if you didn't do anything,
Part of it was recreational as well.
if you didn't do anything, then it was still not allowed. You had to physically opt in.
Right.
That was just for the medical marijuana. Then there was proposal 1, which was 2019 or 2020. It was after the committee had already concluded, that then was about recreational. It was all the same stuff, but the difference with recreational was that you had to pick one way or another, whether you opt in or you opt out.
Right, but we had, during the pendency of the committee, we discussed recreational as well. Because the attorney for Frank Richter and we ended up coming into the office, we ended up having discussions about recreational. And then we had to opt out of recreational. Because at the committee meeting, after we did the homework, and I think you were part of it, Mr. Munson, it didn't make financial sense for us at the time.
I
If you
remember
remember that conversation, it didn't make financial sense for us at the time.
I remember the conclusions that we came to. I'm almost positive that it was a medical marijuana committee.
I remember all of the laws we were looking up were for medicinal. There wasn't no recreational at the time. It wasn't legal at the time. And it had to have been before 18 because
It was.
Dan was on council at the time.
Yeah, things have changed since then, and certainly we can review what has changed. I do know that Lennox Township is going to be permitting, they have 15 permits, which includes 3 dispensaries. From what I understand, there's going to be 1 right at our northern border, so it wouldn't be that far, on 26 mile, just north of the Riverbrook subdivision.
And all the stuff that I've read and seen, this has been in the works for years. They've
But
been given
again,
this stuff for years and no
Doesn't
one's
mean it's
acted
not
on
going to
any of it.
happen. Doesn't mean
I'm
it's
just
not
saying that this stuff is moving our way. These dispensaries are opening up and moving our way. Why are we, as a village, that could use something like this to help generate funds for our community and let it pass by us and allow all these other people to benefit from us?
Well, again, I think because laws have changed, and certainly some communities are facing challenges. City of Warren just had a judge decide that all of their medical marijuana licenses were invalid. There are court cases plenty on this, but this is again something we can research because it is now an established process, and we can see what the process does for communities and some of the challenges these communities face. We will not be deciding this tonight. We're going to discuss whether or not we want to form a committee. Then we have to get people appointed to the committee. Then they have to do their homework. This is going to be at the least a months-long process. I think the last time it took us 3 months, I want to say, or 4 months of meetings. I can't remember the timeline, but it won't be decided tonight.
Okay, so in the meantime, we just stand by and...
You will have to let us do our due process.
I understand.
We have a responsibility to all of the residents of our community.
Absolutely, yeah.
And certainly no one is debating the efficacy of medical marijuana.
Right. Is this something that could be brought up on a vote, like a registered vote, like during the preliminary, like proposal 1 or?
We're not a home rule village, so I'm not sure what, does that have to do with animals?
We voted to do that before. Yeah. That's possible.
I just know that a lot of work is being put in and has been put in. And we haven't, I don't say we, not me, but I know there's more to all of this, and this has been an ongoing thing for a while. I'm connected with a lot of people in the village, a lot of people around the area, big business owners and things like that. And especially in the village. Actually, the big property just over the railroad tracks, that gentleman, I know all about all of that stuff. What I'm getting at is, why are it seems like we're dragging our feet on this, because it's been brought up at numerous meetings, And here we are again, and I'm asking for a vote that we propose a medical, recreational marijuana dispensary within the village, and a vote on it. And I'm being told now that we have to form another committee when on the agenda it says marijuana committee. So is that not right?
That is right. We
But
are
we
going
have
to
to-
determine whether we want to form a committee to look at all the new laws and what's been going on since our last committee meeting,
I'm just asking, I said that there was a marijuana, it says marijuana committee on the
whether
form,
we want to form one.
whether you want to form. That was a
That's going to be up to
I
this council
apologize.
to
I
decide.
apologize if I didn't put it in that format properly, but that
Okay.
was what the.
Yeah, I did not
But
apologize.
please forgive me, ma'am, I'm not a politician, I'm not, very good at this. All right, I don't know all of the legalities, I don't know the hoops I gotta jump through, I don't know any of that stuff. I've been a cop for 25 years, I served this country for 25 years. I lost my daughters because of it. I lost my daughters when I got back, and I was an alcoholic because that was the only thing I could do to keep the demons in my head at bay and continue to work to take care of my family. Then I come across this thing that's called medical marijuana. And it's done the same thing, but it's gave me my life back. It gave me one of my daughters back. Thank you, God. And I'm still fighting for the other one. This is deeper than me. I help veterans all the time. And the main thing I see and when I leave and I get hurt by is all the other victims, the spouses, the children, the people that
Okay,
can't.
you are aware that we do allow medical marijuana caregivers in the community, you're aware of that?
I am, and my wife is actually my caregiver. And I don't know if you guys know, the state of Michigan had just adopted a new law, and it went into effect October 11th, taking that caregiver program and squashing it. They took it from 12 patients to 1.
That
So-
that hasn't been passed yet.
I'm not
going to
going
be-
to argue with you, but,
Okay, no, I'm
I'm
going to
not-
be
I'm not
talking
gonna-
about that later in the agenda, and again, we do understand your position.
okay.
And we do understand that there will be some financial benefit for allowing another business in New Haven, but understand that we are responsive to every single resident in this community,
Absolutely.
including the residents that are facing challenges
Sure.
because of their service, and again, we thank you for your service.
And it's more than
But we
service.
have to exercise a due process, and it may seem slow to you, but we want to make sure that we cover
Absolutely.
all of the bases and that we're engaging all of the residents.
Okay.
As much positive feedback you got about this issue, that they want marijuana here, I've got about twice as much negative feedback. People don't want it here, I have. You have to understand, you talk to some people, I talk to some people.
Listen, man,
So the
I
bottom
agree.
line is, it will be up to this committee, this council to decide if you want to form another committee, look at the financial benefits, revisit some of the issues we had from the first meeting, and, we'll form a committee, that's totally 100% up to you.
And there's something I would like to say as you're considering it. It's not only the revenue we want to bring in, but also like safety factors. Yes, we approve to have some caregivers growing all that, but there's a lot of people that are growing illegally. And when they do that, they're putting chemicals in it, it's getting moldy, and it's bad for people. By getting a dispensary and the licenses, it's all regulated by the state. So we have to make sure it's the top quality medicine.
Those
And that's-
illegal grows are still going to come on.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely, but this might help out because instead of me going to this illegal grow and buying it, now I can go to the dispensary that's all regulated by the state and a lot better.
I
and
don't think
healthier.
that's our responsibility to provide a place for you.
It's not, but she's saying, we want to check with all the residents, we want to take care of the residents. This is, in a way, taking care of the residents that use medical marijuana to make sure it's a safer product for them.
But again, I don't think those are our jobs to provide those services. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying, that's not really what our role is.
Right, I
And
know.
as far as the revenue factor goes, it's the fee, it's the license fee. There's not a continuing of revenue.
Well,
So it's very limited.
There's the profit sharing, that's part of the tax that's collected on, but it is minimal.
But
That the
it's
village
very,
actually-
it's not like.
And creating jobs and then putting back into the community.
So, two things I wanted to point out, and one, just to kind of put it all in perspective too, of where we're coming from with the committee part. So since the village has opted out, if we were to say, you know what, you guys came to us and you requested that we that we opt in and that we pass an ordinance. If we just went along with that and passed the ordinance, any other company that's been turned down because we have been opted out, I mean, they would just turn around and sue us, right? Because
Yeah.
they've been denied that ability. So respectfully, I mean, you guys have a good cause here, you have a good case, but we can't just say, we're gonna approve it because now that's just opening us up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's why we do have to do the due diligence. If we are gonna do this, we would have to form a committee, we would have to, make that decision. And then even then, if we do decide that we want to change where we are, our current stance, and if we wanted to opt in, there would still be some sort of method of figuring out how do we dole out the licenses and all that. We wouldn't be able to say, we're passing this ordinance and giving you a license right off the bat. There would have to be some sort of process of vetting who gets the license and who doesn't. So I just want to set the expectations there as well.
That makes total sense.
So the other thing I wanted to point out, I did go back and I pulled up, the marijuana committee was by title, Medical Marijuana Committee.
Mhm.
It was back in 2017.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it seems like it was not that long.
Seems like yesterday, after everything we went through, it seems like yesterday.
I knew it was before you.
Yeah, so at least the one that I pulled up when I did a search on our site was October 19th, 2017.
Okay,
So
but when did we opt out?
So if it was October that they were meeting, I'm assuming that we must have opted out either the end of 2017 or early 2018. And
Well,
then they
they-
had proposal one, which was, I think, wasn't proposal one?
It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it definitely was before recreational.
Yeah, okay. All right, so, what's your pleasure?
If we form a committee, will we do it similar to last time where we had community members in the committee as well?
Yep.
I would definitely want that.
So, just in January of 2019 is when we opted out of the recreational marijuana.
Recreational.
That's by the 19th.
See, it's been since I've been on, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so if we went, sorry, what was it?
It was January of 2019, but we didn't do anything with the medical because we had to opt in. If you did not opt in, you were automatically opted out.
Correct, so if we opted out January of 2019, then proposal one must have been 2018.
Yeah, it was, because it was midterm election. If I remember correctly.
Just trying to get the timelines in my head straight.
Right.
I would definitely support Trustee Papoli's suggestion about having community members involved. I don't think this should be a council only.
Well, let's vote first if we want to form a marijuana committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we form a marijuana committee that would be composed of council and community members.
Second.
Been moved and supported, roll call? Oh, your question on motion.
Question, yeah.
I keep forgetting. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll always remind you.
Thank you.
Okay. So who's going to sit on this committee?
That's my next question as well, because I know there's many of us that are feeling a little tapped out already.
Well, that's my concern, that's one concern. That's,
So we,
we should figure maybe, are we gonna, we can say we're gonna have a committee, but if we don't have anyone that's gonna man it, then how's that gonna work?
So let's see if we want to form a committee and then,
so we had a public, so we did put it on our agenda. So it was known to the public that we were gonna opt out of recreational marijuana, right? And then we voted on it and passed it.
yep,
We did that, we made it public. It was on these agendas, it was published, right?
You said
We had
recreation?
multiple meetings about it, right? And we got no feedback except what I heard was to opt out of it, to not do it, right? And we had a lot of debates about it. And then we voted on an ordinance and said we're gonna opt out of it. So now we're saying all that work and all that, we're gonna stop and we're gonna not erase that, but we're gonna go back and revisit that when we already adjudicated it once.
Well, at the time, the law was new and we didn't know what kind of legal challenges we were going to face and what other communities were facing. Now, we're a number of years later, where some of those that
This just happened this year, well, 2019, right?
Yeah.
So
And to be fair,
I'm not keeping up on it, I haven't kept up on it since the committee.
To be fair, I think we also, sorry, I didn't interrupt you. To be fair, I think we also, when we did opt out, I think we also had put a time limit that we were supposed to revisit it. I don't think we ever really did.
I thought we just said we should revisit it. No,
No,
I thought
it was a year later. It was a year
Something like
later.
that. I don't think we ever did.
We
You
could,
know, admittedly, the pandemic and everything,
yeah, we were gonna revisit it at the council.
so, I mean,
It just had.
Okay,
It-
so
it
we
has
have a
been.
motion.
So in the ordinance that prohibits the recreational marijuana, there is no revisit. I'm looking at the ordinance right
I think it was deferrable at the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Okay, so the motion was made by, again, who made the motion? Mr. Meisen, and support by Procoli.
Yep.
Roll call?
Trustee Meisen,
yes.
trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Conley,
No.
trustee Bunkowski,
No.
trustee Guerrero. Yes. And President Carter.
No. Motion failed. We'll revisit it next month when we do a full council.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
gentlemen. Okay, we have a code enforcement position. We have 3 applicants. Are any of the applicants here? Mr. Is Mr. Demare here? Okay.
Since we don't have any of the applicants here, this kind of echoes back to the new business topic of village manager and investments and whatnot that I feel like, you know, maybe we might need to consider. You know, talking with Code Enforcement Officer Vander Cove, obviously there's a lot of work that he has dedicated in. A lot of it maybe because of it's been a personal project for him, you know, to some extent, where he takes it really seriously. And he's been doing a great job of what he's been doing. And I think a lot of members of the community see the benefits of what he's done. You know, people that are on the receiving end might not appreciate it, but those of us that are seeing the beautification of the village and, you know, dilapidated buildings and structures and fences being repaired, I think that's a positive. You know, I wonder, I know informally there's been, you know, you had mentioned to me just about, you know, a consulting service.
You know what? I looked up the service. It's not a code enforcement service, it's an architectural service.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up.
You know, with talking with others, you know, there does seem like there could be some overlap in responsibilities between different employees that we have in the village. Code enforcement, you know, building inspections, fire inspections maybe even. You know, is there any way that we look at like...
No, the fire department's not going to enforce one, and neither is the building inspector. They're going to report to code enforcement, and he's going to have to handle it.
Okay.
You know, that's like saying the fire department should go dig a grave.
Yeah.
You know, we can't do that. But
But what if, can I pause you just for a second?
Sure.
Because I'm hearing something different than you're responding
Okay.
to. I'm hearing, could we hire one person that's the building inspector and the code enforcement officer and whatever other job that we may be able to come with? I'm not sure how
Right.
fire and building will.
You know, we've had a lot of building going on, so the person could assist Mr. Cohen, the building inspector. We have, you know, I'm sure the fire department could use some help with building inspections or, you know, whatnot with fire inspections. If the building inspector's already on site looking at some buildings, maybe there's some cross-training and some ability to you know, I just, you know, it's just, I think that we have a benefit that we could have a full-time code enforcement
was
officer.
that the point?
That's my point.
Oh, I
is that-
agree with you. You should be the point.
I'm sorry. So I think overall, the point that I'm trying to make is I feel like there's a benefit of having a full-time person as code enforcement officer. It's just, you know, is there enough for a full-time person that's only doing code enforcement? Or could they also be utilized to assist the building inspector or the fire department or something else? just to justify the full-time expense as a whole.
Yeah, they're definitely, I think, so many of the jobs here, like the fire department, like DPW, are very job specific that require certification. Like, for example, the fire department, they would not be able to do anything there except building maintenance, sweep floors, DPW, again, you have to have certification. But if you're looking to do a full-time position for code enforcement, we could certainly look at what other communities are tasking their code enforcement officers with. And there may be a cross-purpose that they could also cover. Right now in a village our size, I'm not really seeing a lot of other jobs they could handle because we're small. I mean, if we were Sterling Heights or we were McClellan Township, I'm sure that there are other things we could do. But because we're a smaller community, we have certification-specific jobs. I'm not sure what we could do, but I could certainly see increasing the pay.
I mean, even in retrospect, I know it's too late now, I think we entered into the contract, but if we had a full-time code enforcement officer, you could also have them going around the village doing the exterior inspections of the spigots.
You'd have to be certified.
Just for the inspections.
Not to inspect, you do not. You
Not
have to
to
be
test it.
certified to test.
So it's just, I'm trying to come up with more justification.
Well, just because they need certification doesn't mean they can't go get the certification.
Right, and they
Yeah.
can go get the certification.
Yeah.
Lennox Township, they have, if I remember correctly, their code enforcement officer, I don't remember if they were full-time or not.
No, part-time.
Part-time, but their part-time is with benefits, if I remember correctly, and significantly more than what we are paying, significantly
Yes.
more.
Yeah, we talked to her about assuming New Haven as well, and she said she wasn't interested in doing that, but she does make more money and she does get benefits.
Right.
And believe me, it is such an important job. I think that's something we should look at. We are going to start budget hearings in December. And certainly, this is something we can keep in mind and budget for because it's an important job. Look at the difference Dan made at $500 a month and then at $750 a month. And believe me, I'm heartbroken. I understand why he wants to go because he's flamed out, but I'm heartbroken that he's leaving.
Even in the village, unfortunately.
Oh, is he moving?
No, a common theme in the village of.
Oh, yeah. People are getting flamed out. So, yes, certainly, let's look at increasing the pay. Let's see what kind of benefits we can offer a benefit package. I don't think there's enough for a full-time position, but I think, what?
Oh, no, I agree with you.
Oh, okay. Because it's an individual contract, we would be able to offer a variation of benefits because it's a one-off. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, especially if that means we can keep people in the position,
Right. And I don't mean to, take away from the applicants that we did have, but I noticed that none of them looks like they were local.
Demerit is, he grew up he grew up here until he went to the Army.
Okay.
He's locally graduated from New Haven High School.
I might have missed that.
But my concern is we reached out to them to come and talk to us and then we shut up.
That's what I was gonna ask, did any of them give a reason for that? Because I mean, if they were code, they would have to report to council meetings at some point too, so.
But they couldn't come to introduce themselves. So again, I have concerns.
He doesn't list his address as being New Haven.
No, he wasn't in the resident, he's local. He knows the layout. And,
That's true, yeah, place we got some of this familiar.
but do we want to hire from the 3 applicants? We will need a code enforcement officer. We have court cases that, and I've asked Dan, and I've got to reach out to him again. He was in the office on Friday to see if he would be willing to stay on just to handle what we have in motion. We have Mr. Evan Chuck. We've been talking to Mr. Holzbeek about the silos being painted. Mr. Higgins is ongoing. The Seaford House. We've been talking to Hank Shade about please paint the Seaford House. So I really hate to lose momentum on those. So with your approval, I'd like to reach out to Dan and see if he would just handle what we've got in motion now, not so much the minor blight stuff. And I'd like to be able to tell him we will give him X amount of dollars until the end of the year. What do you guys think of that? Do you guys have a dollar figure?
If you went up to 750,
Now, he would not be handling regular one,
right,
you know,
just to finish what he's doing now.
just to finish what he's doing now. And maybe if we do hire someone, yeah, and there's maybe some training, maybe 500, pay him, we're gonna pay a training person. And he may not, he may say no, he may be looking for, he may have other things on his plate. So, you think that's horrible? You got that look on your face?
Can we,
Okay.
I'm just curious, I always get concerned about, well, lately, I've just been looking at this, and we meet one time a month to get all this business done, and kicking the can down the road, which we have to do, sometimes I get. But can we approve for, like, can we pass something now that says, we're gonna allow the president to interview these 3 people, pick one of them, and pay him $750 a month?
I don't know if that I would feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go a month, we're just gonna.
No, we can look at the applications here and notify somebody you've been hired.
What's the?
Well, I'm not gonna hire anyone.
Well, yeah, I don't, then I would vote no, because they didn't show up.
Yeah,
And
were they
I think they
notified to show
should
up?
sit down with somebody and talk about
I'm
why.
comfortable
Were they notified to
seeing
come here,
them,
Heather?
seeing them
Hmm?
before.
Were they asked to come here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I
That's
Yeah,
what I
but-
mean, that, so let you go interview them. Again, it's not like it's something that if they don't perform, we can't go back in and visit as a village, as a council, and say they're not performing. I mean, unless that's just not out of procedure, I don't know.
When it comes to code enforcement and Variance Code and staying on, because there's a lot of things that are in motion right now with courts and whatnot, even if he were to give up his code enforcement role, wouldn't he still have to have some involvement with the courts? Because all that interaction was with him.
That's why I'm trying to, no, they could just say, go ahead, you got wisdom on this.
Well, I mean, we could, he's in the court system, we could always subpoena him, right? But that doesn't make for a very friendly witness.
Well, right, yeah.
And I'm not sure that Dan deserves that.
I guess more so my question is like, and sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
If we were, let's say we were to go and hire one of these 3, they wouldn't be the ones that would be talking on behalf of the village at the court.
Right,
So we need that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, if we could do, you know, and I don't feel, I don't know what your feeling is about offering him. He may say no, in which case we'll have to do what the community does when their code enforcement leads with court cases. You have to deal with it, and courts do understand that. But I'd like to offer Dan the chance with your permission.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Is that okay? And then 500, and in case there is training involved, is that okay?
Personally, I'm willing to just let him continue with what he's making. I mean, if we're asking him to appear in court and handle court cases and all that,
Okay, somebody give me a motion.
750, oh, sorry,
No, that's fine, 750, yeah.
so,
make a motion that
Well,
we.
So
Sorry.
we're making a motion on paying somebody we're already paying with an approved motion. So just tell him, stay at your rate until you.
We just issued a final check, he's gone,
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that.
yeah, he's
I didn't
gone,
think that was in here, so yeah.
he's gone.
Oh, yeah, sorry, nope, forget it. I digress.
Gotta start over again.
Yep, sorry.
so I will make a motion for
Us to offer,
offer $750 a month to just follow through on the current court cases and finish those out,
and possible training.
and possible training. And that's $750 a month, as long as that happens.
To office, to code enforcement officer Bandit, Kirk, how do you pronounce it? I call it Bandit, okay. Do I have a second? It's been moved and supported, roll call.
Like I said a lot.
I know, a lot of money flying in.
Trustee Bukowski.
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero. Yes. Trustee Meissen.
Yes.
Trustee Foley.
Yes.
Trustee Colley.
Yes.
And President Craig.
Yes. Now, the question is, do we hire somebody from this paperwork, or do we want to wait until they come in?
I'm more comfortable speaking to somebody before.
Okay, so we should table hiring until next month. We will notify them that they have to appear in front of council to introduce themselves. And if they do not, they will not be, you will be disqualified from the position. And if you'd like, we can repost it.
I was gonna say, in the meantime, can you just still advertise the position?
We can repost. Absolutely.
President Kramer, did you want me to email them, or were you going to?
Would, no, could you read,
Because I emailed them, and, when they sent their resumes, and I emailed them letting them know that I had received their emails and the resumes, was forwarding it to council, that the next council meeting was today, up here.
did you get any response at any step? Okay, that's concerning. We're gonna post an RFP on Whitney, actually. Why do we do that? Spread the net a little bit and see if we can get qualified code enforcement, and we'll also put it back on the village website and other sites. Is that okay?
We're gonna have a new
Yeah,
sign
I
to post it on soon.
Yeah, we're gonna do electronic board.
I guess I want to understand the job a little bit better, and I'm including, you said like the secret house needs painted. So there's a lot of houses that need painted, so what?
But these are the ones that are at the core, they're gonna be at the core level.
It's been
I
escalated.
understand that,
Yeah.
but I see a lot of houses that need painted, so
Right.
we just chose the Seaford home because,
No, he wasn't, because the other ones addressed the problem. He's the one who's taking the field. Other blight has been addressed, and there are other homes, and other homes have stepped it up. Have you seen some of the homes on Main Street? You could thank Dan for that, some of the homes there. People have been warned, people have
so
addressed
is
the
he
problem.
gone, is he going in the subdivisions?
He's, yeah, as far as I know, I mean, he had to be here, but as far as I know, he's going all over.
Yeah.
But the HOAs take care of the blight at the,
No, they don't.
Well,
they're
so,
sub-house.
No,
so there's some HOAs that do a better job of handling it than others, but a lot of times what, I know firsthand with Dan that his stance has always been he tries to have the HOA handle it first.
He
And
lives
then
in
if
the
it,
south.
and then if the HOA is unable to resolve it, then they escalate it up to the code enforcement.
Yeah, when you
That's
live in the
typically
neighborhood, it
the
gets a little,
But it really is the
Well, no,
HOA's
it doesn't, because the
responsibility.
village
Yeah, it does.
ordinances are gonna, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ayers. We have to follow the village ordinance whether I have a HOA or not.
You do?
Okay.
yes, but don't you think there's just a modicum of uncomfortability if you live next door to the guy that you just tried to drag to court? Or that doesn't matter, does it?
What? Say that again.
If the guy next door to you has a blighted house, and you're taking him to court, you don't feel, you're okay with that?
Well,
You wave hi to him when he leaves his house, and he waves hi
well,
back?
Dan lives in the community, I don't understand.
No, but I'm asking you. You're the code
If I
enforcement
took
guy.
the job, I vote on things all the time that I'm sure my neighbors disagree with.
All right, like I said, he has been addressing blight all over. And some people have responded to his request for remediation, but there are some people that have not. And those are the people, like Mr. Evanchuk, that after numerous citations. Yeah. So it's not a question of why just him, it isn't just
No,
him.
no, that's not what I'm saying, I understand, okay. I'm just saying, what is, are we all on the same page of what the role of this code enforcement
course we are.
officer is? Okay.
Of course, we
I think to answer your question, Trustee Bankowski, I think what's going on is that or just to rephrase maybe, or whatever. I think there's a lot of properties that Dan is currently working on, whether it's the warning or citations, violations, and fines. They're in various stages. But the Seaford House, for example, is one that has gone all the way through that process and
For
now
sure.
has gotten to the courts.
For sure.
There's definitely other ones that he's working on.
like the grader, yeah.
Right, but I don't see that on the report, so that's why I don't see other properties on his report.
I guess if you have certain properties in mind, then maybe let's talk to Dan about it and see, or maybe go back and.
Or
Well, first we have to ask Dan if he wants to be
Well,
there.
right, yeah.
To the conversation.
Because there are a lot of times, I know, speaking from HOA experience, if there's a troublesome neighbor that is not following the bylaws and we've escalated it and we're finding them, if it gets to that point, then, we do hand them over to code enforcement. Code enforcement has been effective a lot of times, when you get a violation notice literally zip tied to your doorknob on the front of your house, usually it gets quite a response compared to the HOA.
Well, that'll be a lesson for me.
Okay, we got a lot to go, folks. Yes, we do.
We didn't vote on it.
Oh, wait, okay, roll call. She complained about another roll call.
Wait, what was the motion?
The motion was
Paying them
to,
$7.50 a month till he closes.
Does anybody make
the
sense?
business.
yeah,
Well, I did that and I did a roll call.
Oh, you did?
The vote is done.
Oh, yeah, we
The
voted.
vote is done.
All right.
You lied. Okay.
Mr. Addis is
Okay.
directing us.
So it did pass, and I'll talk to Dan, I'll
I
email.
don't remember.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
You know, but I will again, we'll post an RFP on Mitten for code enforcement, and we will put it back up on our sites.
If Dan comes back with a counter offer, you should tell him that you'll bring it back to council.
Absolutely, absolutely. Believe me, if there was a way to glue his feet to the floor, it would. This guy's been a rock star. All right, fire department burn ordinance. Assistant chief.
I approve.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Yes, the ordinance in front of you kind of shores up our old ordinance, gives us a little bit more power, if you will. Before, I wasn't even able to go technically and go onto your property, tell you to put your fire out, and or put your fire out. This shores up all of our loose ends, and it looks good.
It also gives the residents a clearer definition of what can be burned and what can't be burned. We have a resident burning tires. Yeah. Pressure-treated wood with a lot of chemicals in it. They're burning whole decks. I had that experience behind me. Guy tore down his deck and just burned it all. So this gives us, again, more definition so they cannot say, I didn't know. And it gives us more teeth to be able to remediate the problem. Anybody have any questions for the assistant fire chief?
I have one. It would be 6.2.3. Open burning under this section shall be conducted at a location at least 20 feet from the nearest building, which is not on the same property. So it's not referring to where it's burning on your property in relation to any of your buildings, it's your neighbors, right?
Right.
Yes, it applies to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the original ordinance we had was 50 feet away, but given the size of the lots in Amherst and Decorah, that would be, there's no big able to use a fire pit. So we took it down to 20.
I was even thinking 15, I mean, just to give you some leeway on it, because if you're following all the other protocols here where it's only a 4x4 and you got fire extinguisher, somebody's over it, you're always manning it. I mean, even if you're 15 feet away, because I mean, I'm looking if you had a 40-foot lot, then you can't have it either.
Well, if you put the burn pit in the middle of your lot, it's going to be 20 feet away from the neighbor's house. What we're looking at is the negative impact from the smoke going into your neighbor's house. So 5 feet maybe isn't that much of a difference. If you feel 15 feet, you could amend it to 15 feet. Yeah, I think you recommended 15 feet initially. But my
can
concern
we
is
just,
the smoke.
15 is really short. I mean, just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the podium.
30, right? I'm taking 30, 15 on each side of it.
Yeah, but my house is right there, and you're gonna put, I actually don't like 20 myself, because I'm just saying, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm going the other direction. I'd rather, you know, if that's 15 feet right there,
I mean, if
right? Maybe to the other side of the podium. I mean, I could have my 3-story house right there, and you're burning that much stuff right there.
But it's all
Yeah, well, but it's still, I'm just saying the smoke piece, right?
Yeah, if a lot of people put patios in their yard, the patios will end up 5 feet away from the lot line. So 10 feet past that, it's somebody's bedroom window with 15 feet. So we're trying to get a figure that would work with Amherst and Lennox, Amherst and Decorah.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you guys think, huh?
I was pulling the copy that was out of our packet, but there's the revised copy they sent out, and I got it now.
Yeah. So do you think 15 feet is acceptable or 20?
I'm okay with 15. I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but I just think, I just like 15 better.
You like the numbers? Anybody else? Opinions?
I mean, smoke is smoke, right, no matter how many feet away you have it.
Yeah.
My concern is, 15 feet, 20 feet.
And we do have the enforcement ability, if it does cause a smoke nuisance to the neighbor,
Yeah.
they could be cited.
I'm worried
Is
about
there an
smoke.
amber issue with 15 versus 20? Is 20 the minimum that you go from a safety factor next to a structure? Well, I guess it would be.
15 feet, right, so I don't want it any closer than 15 feet to your shed, to your house, line of sight, your deck, your wood deck, whatever. I mean, smoke is smoke, it's gonna go where it goes. and there is a line item in there that says, look, if it's being a nuisance to your neighbors, you gotta stop.
Yeah,
And I'm standing there with my hose and my fire team.
Exactly.
exactly.
I mean, that is
That is
actually
true,
true.
I guess 15 feet's irrelevant if you're a nuisance to me. If you get smoke in my house, I can just, this could make you put out your fire.
Unattended fires is a huge problem. That's the only time anybody ever calls us. And we're not going around as the fire police and saying, I'm gonna get my tape measure out and make sure your fire extinguisher there. That's not what we're gonna do. It's the complaints. It's the unattended burning, which accounts for probably, 90% of our calls of illegal burns.
And the old ordinance says you could only get a burn permit for a Tuesday, which is,
So
so.
we're allowed to do it on Sunday or something.
Yeah, and again, this gives
Which
us the
is
teeth.
normally what we
Yeah.
also do.
No, but again, this gives us teeth. If somebody is repeatedly burning tires, burning trash, you can't burn house refuse.
Yeah. It's a definition of
Yeah.
basically what you can and can't burn, right? We're defining that a little bit more precise where we can be able to mitigate the situations that we're having in town.
I would have a problem with adjusting it to 15. I didn't think about the nuisance part of it, because that'd be my issue, would be the nuisance, right? If you're within 15 feet of my house, you're more likely a nuisance, but so be it, right? I mean, if I'm gonna do this at the end of the day, right, so, or have an issue, I suppose.
So are there any other concerns about the language?
Not necessarily a concern, but I guess maybe just a little confusion or confusing is, so the 6.2.3 talks about 20 feet from the nearest building, which is not on the same property. Okay, so that's for the nuisance reason. Then there's also 6.2.7 that talks about 25 feet from any combustible material, combustible wall or partition, exterior window opening. So that would be 25 feet from your own house, assuming that you have a window on that side of the wall, or 25 feet from somebody else's, right?
Yeah, that might have to be.
That part just got a little confusing.
Yeah,
We're talking
might have
about
to be
distances.
Stuff out of a gas tank in my shed, kind of thing.
Yeah, it is, it's for garages, attached garages, you've got combustibles in there. I think the,
Combustible is what period, right? Vinyl siding.
no, vinyl siding is not combustible, multiple is not combustible.
Well, and what I clued in on more so was just the exterior window opening in general, so I'm just thinking any wall with a window, right?
And I think the intent from that, we copied it from somewhere else, was for garages. If you have a garage with an open window and combustibles inside, I think that's what that's addressing.
But that's not what that says though, it says 25 feet. So if I had a fire in my yard, it has to be 25 feet from a window,
You can make it 15,
right?
make it 15.
Yeah.
Just make it 15 across the board. Yeah, you can make it 15 across the board.
Are you guys comfortable with it as a fire department?
Sure.
15 is my number, right? That's mine.
Yeah, he was pushing for 15.
That's my number.
I'll take it here.
So you get an amber in your bedroom on your linen, and then you're done.
That's it. Oh, look at him, Mr. Doom and Gloom over here. All right, any other questions or concerns about the language? And we could always approve the ordinance with the amended ordinance with the 15 feet. Do I have a motion?
What's the ordinance number?
393.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 393, an ordinance regulating outdoor burning in the village of New Haven with the amendment of 6.2.3 and 6.2.7, both reading 15 feet.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Parks and Rec Committee membership. We had a young lady that applied with Sean, I think her last name was Shauna,
Joshua.
and thank you. She was the only applicant that we had, Shauna Joshua, there it is. And again, we are facing challenges with our Parks and Rec attendance. My first inclination was to reduce the membership down to 5. So that way, if 3 people showed up, which seems to be happening, they still have a quorum to vote. But we do have a volunteer, so I'm kind of inclined to leave it at 7 and hope more people attend the Parks and Rec meetings. So I'll be going to the next Parks and Rec meetings. I went to this Parks and Rec meeting, 3 people showed up, and 2 residents that wanted to see how the Parks and Recs work. And we had to tell them this isn't the norm. And they were great people. They had some really good ideas about park improvements. But I'll be going to the next Parks and Rec meeting. I will be passing out copies of the new Parks and Rec ordinance to them about attendance included in that ordinance. And just kind of reminding them about their responsibilities towards the community and what we would like them to do. And I'd like to get them involved in the parks part, which I've already told them. If we do use part of the federal funding to upgrade our parks, park department has to be involved in that. So do we have a motion to let Ms. LaShawna Joshua know that she is now part of the Parks and Rec?
These are paid positions now, right?
Yes.
Did she have a reason for not doing it?
Who? Oh, I don't think she was
Probably
invited.
wasn't told.
Yeah, there's-
I tell everybody who contacts me that puts in for any position, the next meeting is on the agenda, here's the time and place, please come.
So she wasn't ready. Well, you know what, folks? Either we accept the application and get 6 people on there, or we knock down membership down to 5. What's your thoughts?
I'm just gonna make a motion to offer her the position.
Support.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Can we notify Ms. Joshua? Thank you.
can I just make a comment? Mary, I know exactly where you're coming from, but then that's every planning member, like every committee, they're gonna come in and interview them?
I mean, what's the difference of adding another person that won't show up, right? I mean, if we want people to come to meetings,
Well, I guess to be fair, though, I mean, are we replying to the email saying that this is the time of the council meeting and you can attend if you would like to answer questions, or are we telling them that the expectation of council is that they attend?
because that's where I'm coming with. I mean, we could have 100 people on the committee, right? But if only 2 show up, that's the 198,
Right.
right?
And I think, I understand what you're saying, but those are, it's a stipend, I think it's different than, I guess it's not different.
Well, code enforcement is just like.
Yeah, I corrected myself, it's not different. I just, it's hard enough to get people to volunteer, because really that's what we're doing is volunteering. So sometimes people aren't comfortable coming and having to interview for it.
I have to eat my own words, I did not notify her to please attend the meeting.
Bingo! Okay. That's fine, but we're gonna.
Sorry about that.
But it's something to think about for the future, we can't,
Well,
it's hard enough to get volunteers as it is, so.
Right, we got somebody that's willing to volunteer.
Yeah, so we've got 6 now, and again, I'm going to the next Parks and Rec meeting, and we'll kind of remind everybody, you guys offered to step it up for the community, and they've done an absolutely awesome job. The Fall Festival is going to be so nice. So we do want to keep people engaged, but I also need help with future plans for the development of our parks, and that's going to be part of the Parks and Rec Committee. So we're going to have a conversation. But we will notify Ms. LaShawna, thank you for stepping up. I even threatened 2 of the young ladies that showed up at the last meeting and said, you show up at the next meeting, you're on the committee. Keep showing up, you're it.
Who seconded that motion?
Me. Me. Or did I make it?
I thought you made it.
Okay.
Then I seconded it.
Right.
And that's all in favor. Okay, can you notify her? Thank you. The residential variance fee. I'm sure you all got my email about what some of the attendant costs are. I reached out to a couple of communities, what their variance fees are. The city of Fraser charges $400, and that's residential or commercial, because it does have, they have to pay for all the inspections and the paperwork. I did not get a call back from, I didn't want to go to the bigger communities because they're going to charge more. I reached out to Centerline, didn't get a call back, and I reached out to East Point and didn't get a call back, but I believe East Point was at $500 when I lived there 17 years ago. So we cannot charge them $50. It's not going to cover our costs. We have to send out, and the young ladies in the office are doing it right now with the master plan, rezoning some of the areas. You have to send notification, and you know this, to people within 300 feet of the property, and you have to send letters. We talked to, what's his name, John up at the county, and I said, can we just send out a postcard and do a mass mailing? He said, no. You have to have proof that you mailed the letter to the address. So they're all in there now, stuffing envelopes. This is a process, and that goes for whether you want a 7-inch variance for JMA, or you want to put a shed in the back of your property. Although neighbors have to be notified, even though we all know the neighbors won't have a problem, they still have to be notified. That's the way the zoning ordinance reads. So, we are not going to be able to charge $50 and still stay afloat. What would be the recommendation?
Can we change the zoning ordinance then?
The Zoning Enabling Act is Michigan state law.
Not the Michigan state law, so for, what kind of spurred this whole conversation on when it comes to what's the definition of a backyard and what's the definition of a front yard?
It also comes down to the 4 different reasons to grant a variance, and one of them was if it was self-created. Now, the issue you're talking about was self-created, you would be denied a variance anyway.
Self-created how?
You put the pool in the middle of the yard. That was the problem. Had the pool been set over to the left, there would have been room. So it was self-created. There's a lot of varying factors in granting a variance, and some of them are dictated at the state level. So, as much as we would love our neighbors to love us because we let them put up a shed, we still have to follow the law.
Well, no, I mean.
And at what point do you delineate every single exemption?
Right.
This is we're making an exemption for a shed, but only if the shed has a fence around it and the fence is
Well, no, what I would rather see though is that if it's, the definition of what a front yard is versus what a backyard is just kind of jacked up right now. It doesn't make any logical sense.
well, it's viewable from the public on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, if you have what's legitimately the back of your yard fenced in, but you have a road there, now it's considered your front yard, even though it's fenced in behind a fence.
It's not by law. It is considered. Nowhere does it say if you have a corner lot, you got 2 front yards. It doesn't say that anywhere.
Right.
But they treat anybody that has that as if they have, because it's open to the public.
Well, and that's why I'm asking if we could revisit our zoning ordinance that has that definition of what is the front yard versus a backyard.
What planning commission person? You have wisdom on this?
I don't know anything about this, so.
You have a planning commission person.
So
I don't know anything about this conversation. It didn't come before planning.
Right, I mean, I guess is that, like, what would be a proper step? Would it be that, do I or somebody bring it to planning and say, hey, we see this issue with the zoning ordinance that the village of New Haven has, that doesn't seem to make sense?
So am I recalling a different conversation from last month to this month? Because I thought it was just lowering the residential fee to $400 and I don't know.
50, somebody threw out 50.
I don't remember that. It was 400 because that was the previous fee.
No, somebody threw out 50.
And what would planning,
Well, it was tabled until this month, but
Right.
my notes have it as 400.
Somebody,
For a resident.
Jessica Bellinger said it was only $50 to apply for a construction permit. The $50 fee
No,
was.
that was for something else.
The meeting minutes that we just approved for
Yeah.
does say to draft documentation to drop residential variance fee to 400.
Okay.
The
But
$50
50
was for the caregiver permit fee.
Yeah, you know what, that is true, because I remember reaching out to
the
the
caregiver
resident.
permit fee.
Okay, I thought it was for that. Okay, so, do we want to approve $400, which seems to be kind of where communities our size are?
yes, I'll make a motion to approve $400 for the residential variance fee. Is that all you think?
Well, you know what, we could just make it across the board if you want. Commercial, do you want to keep commercial at 600?
Yes.
Is there any additional costs with commercial? I think at the time we were talking about commercial, you might have like site plan reviews or something like that.
Well, we still do with residential.
Okay.
They're probably not as complex though, right? Residential is not gonna be, their site review is not gonna be as complex as a
Right.
business.
It depends on what they want the variance for. If they put an addition on their house, then they'd have to look at water and sewer infrastructure, they would have to have site plans.
Well, we've got them to break and give them the 400, but I'd hate to do that and then all the work that comes from a Dollar General,
Yeah,
right? So
Right.
that's way more than $600, I'm sure.
so you want to leave it at 400 for residential, 600 for commercial?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Support.
Hold on, what was the motion?
Residential variance fees are $400 and commercial are $600. Staying the same at $600.
And support was,
Mr. Kelly?
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. And, resolution for the Michigan medical marijuana ordinance fee approval. What we're asking is to pass a resolution to establish an application fee of $50. This will not cover site inspections or copies for permitting, the copies you have to make of their application process. This is just for the initial application, $50.
When you say it doesn't cover, it means that they would be responsible for that as well, right?
Yes, there will be additional costs. So, but this is just the initial application fee.
Okay. So I will, this is resolution number
2021-013.
013. I'll make a motion to pass resolution 2020-013, resolution to establish a medical marijuana caregiver application fee.
Support.
For probably to support, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, and now an update on legislation. Right now in front of the House in Lansing about the medical marijuana caregivers. There are 3 bills in front of the House. They are still in front of the House. They haven't voted on yet. House Bill 5501, 5502, and 5503. The state has realized that they have regulated recreational marijuana, but there was very little regulation of the medical marijuana caregivers that can move into neighborhoods. This bill is bipartisan, has bipartisan support, and according to the fine people at the Michigan Municipal League, there's very little opposition to the bill. The bill would regulate the location of the medical marijuana caregivers to 12 plants for themselves and 1 patient, which would be another 12 plants. They would be allowed in residential areas. Anything beyond 1 patient, they'd have to go to an industrial area. And again, if the state passes these laws, we cannot supersede state law, and we would have to amend our ordinance. So just to give you an update, these 3 bills are in front. They haven't been voted on yet. So that would impact our medical marijuana ordinance. Just to give you an update. Call from the floor. It's like a Christian Science reading room out there. Call from the table. And grab
I
a
just
motion.
want to know, what's this side yard, front yard thing? I don't know.
Oh, I'll
anything
talk to you about it.
Yeah. we can talk
Okay,
about
you
it.
said about it, we didn't discuss it at planning, I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Support.
All those in favor? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Dave Cowan, we were talking to Dave Cowan.